So this is episode 2. We are going to introduce our guest for today, Mr. Christopher Alvarez, COVID nurse. He's been trying some of these brews with us. Oh yeah. Yeah. Got this. Let's go. So Chris is a nurse. How long have you been a nurse for, Chris?
2 years now.
2 years now. He's gonna try some of these ciders with us, and he's gonna tell us a little bit of what he's been going through. It's been a crazy change of pace lately, and you know the pandemic has definitely changed life around altogether.
Yes,
so
definitely.
you know,
Yeah.
we want to hear a new perspective, and just I feel like so many people out there know they're narrow. Like I don't know enough of what's going on in the world today. I can admit that. I'm sure we can all kind of be true.
It's
to that.
hard to know what's going on behind the lines of all the chaos and everything. So.
I might know a thing or two.
Just a finger or two. But before we get started, what do we got going on here, Pitty Patrick?
We got, for our first cider, we got Beak and Stiff 1911.
Beak and Skiff, not Beak and Stiff.
Skiffs.
Beak and Skiff.
Mira, sucio.
Oh my god.
All right, well, with that said, should we try this?
Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's
Let's
try it.
open
All
it.
right, cheers. Let's open these up.
Yeah, this is
So I just spilled
As
it.
everything
Oh,
spills
I can't.
everywhere.
All right,
By the way,
It smells so
really
good.
feels
Let's
obligated.
go.
Hey.
Cheers.
There you go.
Cheers.
All right.
Oh.
That's good.
Oh.
That's got
I
a
just
kick to
spilled
it.
That's
No, my
pretty
biggest complaint about ciders in general is that they're too sweet, and it's a happy medium.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too sweet.
Not-
It's
Yeah.
not too bitter. It's like right in
It's
the middle.
right there.
It's
yeah.
very, yeah. It's
That's pretty good.
yeah.
I actually like it.
I like it a lot.
Like
Yeah,
I
it's really
said,
good.
I usually don't like ciders.
That's why you bring them in
But-
here.
I like beer, and this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Chris
I'm on his
knows.
team.
Chris knows.
Like my primary, if you had to give me one thing to pick, I'd go with beer. So
Yes.
in order for a company to impress me, like the cider's got to be pretty solid and
Yeah.
not too sweet, not frou-frou-y.
Yep.
It's the same thing with wines. Like people go for like super sweet wines. You can tell that they're a beginner.
Yes.
The fact that this isn't oversweetened is good.
Yeah.
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 I
That's
feel like
pretty good.
the flavor really comes through very strongly and it goes down smooth at the same time. So
I agree.
yeah.
So all right. So 1911, or I guess Beak and Skiffs. Overall, everybody likes it, right?
I do like it.
Yeah,
I actually
Where are
like
these
it.
guys from?
New York,
Upstate New York.
upstate New York. We
Yep.
got a little background info. We did a
Oh,
little.
we can go visit.
Lafayette, New
Let's
York.
go
visit.
We're definitely
Lafayette.
coming to say,
Oh.
Yeah.
okay, so I guess they were doing regular ciders for a while, if I'm not mistaken. They were doing just like regular apple cider, and then in 2010, Beak and Skiff decided let's get into the hard cider business, and I think they're doing a good job.
It's pretty good.
This is delicious. I can drink this and say like I'm gonna go to a house party and only drink this. Bring my 6-pack and just stick to this. Again, I'm a cider guy, so maybe I'm not the guy to ask, but
Oh, it's gluten free.
most ciders are.
Hey, be careful. These
Yeah.
are pint cans.
Dude,
Remember,
I know.
we still gotta chop.
No.
it's 5.5%, 12 ounces.
Yeah.
This is 16.
So,
All right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go right into it, man. I mean, we brought you in here, Chris.
All right.
Just dive on it.
These are weird times, right?
Yep.
So where do you want to start? What do you guys want to know?
All right, when you first heard about COVID, how serious did you think it was in the beginning? I mean,
In
You
the
know?
beginning, when it was announced as an international phenomenon, I had the same impression that everybody else had as far as thinking that it was kind of like the flu. We deal with flu every year.
Okay.
yeah.
And its precautions are a little paper mask for the flu. Like we're really accustomed to dealing with the flu. And it's the same situation that people try to push on what's going on right now as far as, the flu affects people, of course. Like you can end up in the hospital with the flu.
Yeah.
But we're going to give you a 5 to 7 day treatment. And You're going to get medication that treats the symptoms of the flu. It's going to keep you from ending up in a bad position. But if you are already bad, if you were a smoker your whole life, if you have diabetes, you're overweight, all these other things weigh in on the fact that you have the flu, and it can kill you, which is why it kills so many people. Like it's important to keep in mind that a lot of these things, these numbers are hard to manage, and I've seen the number 60, 70,000 a year thrown around.
For the flu,
of course,
or for...
you can't quote me on anything I'm saying right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but essentially, like when you multiply it out, I don't know what the number of car accidents are over the course of a year, but there's 400 million people in the U.S.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of like extrapolate how severe something is. But after dealing with it and being on the front line for the past 3 months or so, I'd say 2 months, it was where it was really kicking our ass at work. That changed my perspective on this being a completely different thing, because I've admitted fellow doctors, I've seen nurses not show up to work, I've seen family members be down for the count, people who, like, I'm first generation family, so not going to work and calling out sick, or kind of like those things where they're not done. My mother's been in the same industry for, say, 30 years now, 30 plus years.
Wow.
She had something that was suspicious before all this took off, and she was out of work for 12 days. And that's something that's never happened to her.
No.
My father came home from the Dominican Republic, and he was sick. She got sick. And before you knew it, it was like 10, 11, 12 days.
Yeah,
like she was coughing to the point of vomiting. Like that's how intense it was. And COVID wasn't, or Corona. COVID would be like what happens. Coronavirus would be what it is.
Yeah.
That is something that I've never seen before from her. You know, so this is a totally different beast from the flu. Now, I will say that a lot of the situation that we're dealing with right now has been mismanaged by our leadership. There's too many politics and popularity contests going on, where the first 30 to 45 days, 100% behind the quarantine and everything else that goes along with it. But we're still learning about this virus, and like as I see the beds emptying, there's a different angle to it, and it's not to downplay what's going on, because guess what? I'm still learning. Like right now, we just came out of quarantine, and what a lot of people aren't taking into account is the fact that we did something. And it's no big deal. See, I told you everything would be fine. I'd be like, hey, when was the last time
You still went through that.
your leadership said stay at home, and you stayed home for 30 to 60 days? So I don't know how this is going to play out. And I feel like healthcare professionals have kind of been on the shit end of the stick, no matter what it is. Like we appreciate heroes and this and that, and it doesn't pay bills necessarily. But at the same time, when things look as though they're not as serious as they panned it out to be, they're like, oh, well, they had these projections. Like, yeah, they had projections. The projections were not based upon people staying at home. So people stayed at home, and now like we have less deaths, lower percentage of mortality, and all these other things. And people are like, oh, it was all just bullshit. I am not behind losing your livelihood. As you know, as one of the people that are closest to me as far as jiu-jitsu is concerned, something that's close to me, that's something that I rely upon to kind of like defrag from. It's an intense work environment. A nurse day to day is one of the hardest jobs I've ever worked. I've been all over the place.
Okay.
I rely upon jiu-jitsu. When I talk to the people who own these schools, go ahead.
Sorry to like interrupt you.
No,
So
I went on a rant.
does that mean like if you're going to jiu-jitsu, does that mean like you're getting a little bit distracted from jiu-jitsu, like going
Work.
to work?
That's
from
what it is
jiu-jitsu?
for me. It's
So
your escape.
is it
Yeah.
like kind of like your it's
Escape.
just like he said, escape from doing what you're doing.
yeah. So it's a double whammy for me. It's like, oh, okay, you're going into this thing like you don't know exactly what the consequences are of dealing with it. Your patients are guaranteed to be positive, because I work on a unit that was unfortunately converted to dominantly COVID patients.
So almost all of them are, if not all of them are COVID.
It's a 22-bed unit. We are what you would call progressive care.
Yeah.
So you've got levels of nursing, like you have med surge, you have progressive, you have step down, you have ICU. I had some experience in ICU, then I started working on the step down unit as a personal decision, because the fundamentals are essential. Like I've only been in the game for 2 years. What did you know about jiu-jitsu in 2 years?
Yeah.
Shit.
Same thing. Yeah, I got you.
So I will say this: 2 years of jiu-jitsu.
And that's all about consistency too. Like I know all about that too. So essentially, like, you have the ICU, which is really, those are the people that took the biggest blow.
Yeah.
I did 3 months there.
Why is that? Why did they take the biggest blow?
Because if you're going on a ventilator, if you have drugs such as vasopressins, you have what they call them pressors.
Yeah.
They elevate your blood pressure. They have propofol. It sedates you. They have Nimbex. So when they turn you on your stomach, it's a paralytic.
Yeah.
So basically, like, keeps you from scrambling, like you're on your belly. All the things that you're doing to you when you're on a ventilator are based upon the drugs that they're giving you as a patient. So if you are in a condition where you need to have a ventilator, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, just hook up the ventilator. Like, why are they making an extra 32 grand?
Yeah.
I actually have a question on
What's
that
up?
one. On the ventilator. If you have asthma, do you have to have ventilator?
Not necessarily. It's a risk factor. But my little brother,
What?
I didn't know that.
asthma is a risk factor. It's its own separate thing.
Okay.
So if you have
Like-
COVID and you have
Any
asthma,
At the same time.
you're probably going to end up on a ventilator because it's a risk factor.
oh, wow.
It's something that's going to make your body, under situations of intense stress,
Yeah.
your body's going to react to that by constricting basically everything that's involved with breathing. And that's, mind you can't call me. I've had drinks. I've warmed up with you guys.
Yeah,
Like, I could flip back. Like, I'm much better at this when I'm sober, but that's something that already happens. So, like, a person who has asthma, you go to competition, all right, for a jiu-jitsu tournament, and you're getting smashed. Your asthma is going to kick in.
Yes.
The stress factors are going to ramp everything else
Okay.
up, and there's
Okay.
hormones associated. There's all kinds of factors.
Could that be true with like the
Yeah.
flu as well, or something? Like,
So boom, yeah, exactly. So the flu is going to be that guy with excessive top pressure.
Okay.
His jiu-jitsu's better than yours. He's smashing you
So-
in front of all your friends.
Yeah,
like
and your
that's that
girlfriend.
thing.
Yeah.
So basically,
Like,
the flu amplifies that stuff too.
flu, coronavirus replaces the dominant jiu-jitsu practitioner, and then your body's like, oh, stress, asthma,
yeah.
and you need an inhaler, albuterol, something like that, and
So-
it opens it back up.
I got a question
So-
because I was
so-
watching the Joe Rogan Experience, and I'm a huge fan of the show, and I saw that Eddie Bravo said something about the biggest thing with COVID, and you would be, I guess, the guy to ask.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing with COVID right now is like, for the regular healthy person, if you're healthy and you have the flu, what do? You eat a lot of oranges, drink orange juice, hydrate a crap load, drink or eat. Have
You do the things you
chicken noodle
should have
soup.
been doing the whole time. Yeah.
So, and like he said, so like half of it is a mental thing. Like, you know what the flu is. It's been identified for over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
With COVID, it's something new, so you stress out a whole bunch and you do things you don't normally do, and you're like, so could this possibly be that, like, because Eddie said, like, you're not prepared for it, and that's why you have no dog in the fight.
Well, there's more science to it.
Okay.
Because the stress plays a factor. Like, a doctor comes in and he tells you have coronavirus.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, what have you been doing for the past 2 days while waiting for your test results? You've been watching TV, Fox 5, CNN.
Yeah.
Like, coronavirus, this many people, blah, blah, blah. It ramps up the stress, the same stress that would cause an asthma attack, right? So it does make it more difficult to deal with things.
Okay.
But the way that coronavirus works, this is not something that I can elaborate on extensively because of the fact that I've had alcohol. But
A lot, because we warmed up with like 5
Especially
shots.
1911.
Yo, Beak and Skiff. This is good stuff. Like, I'm getting drunk on this.
the way it works is there's something called angiotensin converting enzyme receptors, right?
Okay, now
And-
you're talking science. I don't know what.
Wow.
It's okay.
That was a lot of
We'll
math.
call them ACE receptors.
Okay.
ACE.
We're gonna have an ace cider after this.
Hey,
Boom.
let's go.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
I don't know if that's good marketing or bad, but ACE, essentially ACE is the, you know those little spikes on the coronavirus?
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
That's what
Yeah.
it is. So the image of coronavirus is this ball with a bunch of spikes on it.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
ACE
Yeah, the balls on the side.
I've seen the Ron Wood,
They link up.
you know, the guy
Yes.
who everybody's sending around.
There's and mind you, none of this is like solid science, but
Yeah.
like if somebody was curious enough, they could go down the rabbit hole with what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like ACE receptors, and that's where they link up. Now, ACE receptors are part of a whole domino effect that involves vasoconstriction, blood pressure regulation, all kinds of other things. But this is something that, like, on my level, I'm just treating the symptoms. You got coronavirus, I'm treating the symptoms. You're having trouble breathing. We still don't understand. Like, I could look at your chest x-ray or CT scan of the chest, and I could say, like, all right, so bilateral glass opacity. Like, that means that when I look at your lungs, it looks like there's little pieces of glass in your lungs, and that's what we're seeing. But is it a blood problem? Is it a problem with your lungs, alveoli, the airways? But it does attach itself to something that's dominantly present and operates in your lungs. ACE. Go ahead.
So it must be like super hard to like tell the patients to like how you're like
can't imagine.
basically seeing this and then like telling them what like you have, what they have.
Yeah.
Basically.
How do you have that talk?
So how do you like basically like
It's
tell
even
them?
harder because of the age group. I'm talking to people who are in
Back
their
into, damn.
60s, 70s, 80s. The internet didn't exist.
yeah.
Like for these people,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot of the science that I'm working with didn't exist. So like I do my best, and honestly, it's the one thing you can do as a nurse to help people get through it and survive it. Because if stress only has 6 or 7% to do with their ailment, expressing to a person and breaking it down for them and simplifying it, wow, we can go down a rabbit hole with this one too.
Wow.
And the time that I take as a night nurse to explain to people what exactly is happening brings them a little bit of relief. It's like, why are you on this? Why do you have this thing in your nose shooting oxygen in your nose? Why are we giving you a new one? What does this mean? What can I do? Hey, sleep on your belly. Why? Like all these things are factors that can help people.
Wait, sleep on your belly. Like, why do you sleep on your belly?
They've been having more success with oxygenation when people are laying on their belly. So even when you're,
What? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that in general
I
like
can't-
true? Or,
if
like-
you're not old, right? If you're not old and
Yeah.
you're not confused, you know where you are. Because mind you, dementia takes a role.
Yeah.
You have older people. One of my friends said that one of his doctors was admitted. And,
Hey, quote unquote.
And,
There you go.
and essentially, like, that guy was present of mind to know that, hey, like, when you go to sleep tonight, lay on your belly. Because these people that are on ventilators, that's what we're doing with them.
Yeah.
And it increases their ability to oxygenate because the lack of oxygen is the number one issue.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna try our next cider. Funny thing about this one, so Ace's cider is one of my favorite ciders in general, and in general, like I love what they do. I love I love everything about Ace cider. All right, so you guys ready?
When?
Cheers.
Let me
now.
know when. Let me know when.
3, 2, 1, cheers. cheers, and our introduction to the Ace Cider. Let's go.
Oh wow!
I like that.
I actually
That's
like
really
that.
good.
It's like tart candy,
It's kind of
Yeah.
like
not sweet.
it's
really
kind of
good.
like energy drink,
That's really good, actually.
a little bit.
How?
That's really good.
No,
Isn't
no,
that really
like
good?
if,
I like it.
if you're like
lot.
a beer guy, but it tastes like energy drink. I would
Yeah.
just say.
Like
Wow.
so if I'm choosing a Red Bull,
That's
I go for
really
the
good.
passion fruit one,
Yes.
right? Because it's the most sour.
Yes.
That's really good.
This is actually great if you like anything that's tart.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yeah,
of clarity
definitely, yeah.
behind it. I know what it tastes like.
the pear
You know?
definitely shines through for sure. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
that. I feel like
There's-
this is almost like a pear juice.
Yeah.
Like if you like pear, this is your drink. You know?
Yeah, like a lot of
I-
of anything. Like I feel like some flavors can have other things that interact with it that like causes it to not be exactly what it's supposed, what it says it's gonna
Dude,
be.
this
This is spot on. I feel. Like.
This is
Yeah.
really good.
So I was big into craft beer
Yeah.
before this, and that's why I kind of like have that bias.
Okay.
But I would drink this before most of the ciders that I've had, and it's different from an apple cider. So the Perry cider, and honestly, this is new knowledge to me. I was in the restaurant business for 12 years. This is something that's completely new to me, new information. I didn't know that if you made it with pears, it was a completely different thing. It had a different name.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a Perry.
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
me too.
Dude,
Like if I
Perry,
had to pick between a Perry or an apple cider,
yeah.
I'd go with the Perry.
So what would
Perry's
you
the way
pick?
to go.
Well, alright, hang on. What would you pick between Perry cider versus a beer?
What style of beer? That would be my question.
Well, it
That's
What's
a
your favorite?
that's a
Yeah,
loaded
it
question.
Like,
That's a
oh,
loaded question.
we just started a new show.
And dude, I don't even know if we have enough time for this show
No.
because that's a loaded question.
It is.
That's
It
a
is.
good question.
Yes.
We could probably do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
It's all about diversity. Like beers are so wide expanding.
Yeah.
I feel like ciders are something that people haven't necessarily capitalized on. They have not expanded upon enough. So like 1911 is doing mint watermelon cider, and these guys are doing a Perry craft cider, which is an old style, but like it kind of goes under the radar because everybody's been drinking beer for so long. You got
Yeah,
companies like
that's
Beak
very
that's been
true.
around forever.
That's very
But
true.
this is a market where you have a lot of people who don't have a lot of experience with it, and people like me who have been concentrated on beers the whole time. It changes everything. Like this is something
Yeah.
new to me. I would go and buy this. Like next time that I don't feel like having beer, I'll go buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
Mission accomplished,
makes
baby.
sense.
Yes.
Mission accomplished, baby.
So where
cider culture,
Yo,
cider
yes.
scene,
Where did we
making
get this?
a freaking statement. Thank you, Ace Cider.
Wait. Chris has a
Well
question. Where do you get this?
Angiotensin converting enzyme.
So we already know that like Denville has it.
Yeah.
Time
So
and stuff.
What Denville what?
Literally,
right here.
What is
I
it,
got it
uh,
somewhere near me, so I
Yeah,
feel like
so-
any liquor store carries this.
They do.
Yeah,
Pretty
but
much.
like-
Pretty much.
most
I mean,
liquor
very
stores.
good.
So hold on. So Ace Cider has a whole like conglomerate of like flavors. They have so many flavors out there, and what's really cool is that you'll notice their brand has like a card. Like that's their
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
like-
much.
it's
We
like
tried one with a
playing
Joker
card.
on
label.
it.
You can't miss
Yeah.
it. You
Yes.
can't miss it. So anyway, so
Last time
Where'd you guys
we did,
buy
we had
these
a Joker.
bottles?
We had a Joker,
Yeah,
yeah.
What store did you
It
get
was
these bottles
like
from?
last time.
actually, Pat got this one for me. I was looking for this one, and we found it in Bud Lake, and Pat went and got it for me. What store did you get it from?
I got it from what was it called?
Sandy's and Bud Lake.
Sandy's, yeah.
Sandy's and Bud
Okay.
Lake.
Yeah.
But if you go to acecider.com, I believe, or if you just Google Ace Cider, they typically
can
have
always get it.
they have a
I
they
used
have
to live
a
there.
store locator. Is it acecider.com? Fact checker over there.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
acecider.com, and they do have they have a beautiful story. I believe that the CEO came from like United Kingdom, and he just came down and was like, "Yo, I want to take over this cider business." And dude, the guy's doing a hell of a job. Like this is a good flavor that you just can't forget.
By the
Kudos to
way-
you, sir.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
By the way,
haven't met you.
this is apple plus pear juice at the same time.
It might just be
This is
pear.
actually the first time I've
It
gone
says-
this far into a bottle before we've changed.
Apple and
Oh,
pear.
you're right. You're right.
Apple
What?
and pear.
Wait,
So looking at the ingredients,
where?
fermented apple juice
So
and pear juice.
together,
Where's that?
apple
That's
and
good. Look
pear.
at the ingredients. That's what's so good about
That
it. You're
is
mixing apple
crazy.
and
Fermented
pear.
apple juice, yeah. Pear juice, Madagascar, villain.
Yeah. It's
Um,
pretty insane.
Fermented apple.
I
No
cannot
wonder it
repeat
tastes
enough.
better.
No,
Like,
I
it's got
would-
a mix of
I
apple.
would
in it.
never think that
Yeah.
pear and apple would
Mix
go
well
together.
together.
Mix so
yeah.
well together,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
You know what I could use this for? I would reduce this and make an apple pie with it.
Oh,
Well, that's a next
good.
cider.
Yes,
That's a next
that's-
cider. That's our.
speaking for the cook.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's up?
You guys, remind me, because by the time we're done with this, I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, but
Speaking of
what
apple
else?
Yeah, let's go back to COVID a little bit now.
All right.
Pat, you had a couple questions.
Yeah, I actually, you had spoken a little bit earlier about how you feel like everything. You spoke a lot about how the struggles and trials and tribulations that you've gone through since everything has started, and you also said how you feel like that's not for you. You feel like things could have been
This is
handled
so
differently.
good, bro.
By the way, gonna finish this one.
How do you feel like things could have been handled to where things were a lot less
All right,
severe?
Oh, that's a good
this is a good one.
That's a good
Oh,
So,
that was really
Wow,
good.
That's a really good question.
I am not.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
So like,
Oh, well, there goes my beer.
no, you lost.
Oh, we
So-
got,
Basically, like,
it's the price of a good question.
it's 2020 hindsight because nobody knows what's actually happening with
All right, chug.
what we're experiencing.
That's one,
I
cheers.
can't.
Dude, let
Are
me
you
answer
gonna-
the question.
I mean, yes,
Yes.
I'll go.
Chug it. Chug it.
I have nothing left because he drank it.
Sorry. Sorry.
So,
There's a little bit left.
Let him answer the question.
Right.
You can't. You
So
can't
it's
If it's not for real, though, I would answer this question.
so it's 2020 hindsight, right? I cannot say that I would do better with our leadership. I think that where we fall short is a lot of our leadership is figureheading, and the top professionals are the people who should be responsible. So if like I have a problem with the economy, I should consult the top economists. I should be going to all the best universities and finding their most talented students, and I should be going to them. All right, our generation actually is probably where most of them lie because they're still studying.
Yeah.
But these are bright, current minds. Okay. Big issue I have is that we went into this whole thing. We didn't understand a lot about the virus. I feel as though it was mishandled because of the fact that like we had enough money to start a series of loans, right? And I'm sure you know what happened because we all have friends who own small businesses. A lot of
Yeah.
bigger companies that were small businesses, you know, building to building, like, oh, how many people work at Chris Ruth's in Morristown? Okay,
Mhm.
Chris Ruth's capitalized on the fact that the government put aside how many billions of dollars for small business loans, and how many people do we know that own small businesses that didn't get it? Why? Because they don't have lawyers on their payroll.
That's
they don't
true.
have
They don't have legal team.
they don't have people that are waiting for like the deadline. They're like, oh, 12 a.m. this day. Guess what? The small business loans are available to us. Let's hand in that application. We've been working
That
on
makes
for
a
a week.
difference. That really does.
Versus like somebody who's just like, oh, beignets, Denville, support them.
Good
donut place. Really good donut place.
Definitely.
They're not sitting.
Yes.
They're not sitting there. You know, these people have normal jobs and they make ends meet, but they also have this thing on the side that like they're working on, and they're not sitting there with legal documentation and lawyers waiting to pounce on an opportunity. So a lot of these bigger companies beat our small business friends to the punch. Why is it that that money, okay, was not used to create emergency resources, staff the hospitals the way they should be, pay the current staff the way they should be, to provide psychiatric help for, I should say, like therapy for the people who are dealing with this situation? You have doctors deciding like, hey, I don't have enough ventilators, like who lives or dies. Granted, my perception is skewed because of the fact that if you're in the hospital, you're sick. In my world, 100% are sick. Like, there's... Otherwise, I don't see you.
Wow,
Okay.
that's true.
So,
Okay?
how do
So
you,
I'm skewed and I understand that.
Yeah.
so how do you deal with that though? Like, how do you really like decide which one would? I don't know.
It's
That's a
based
hard question. I
upon
know you're
years.
getting
So, and like,
Personally,
Who lives? Who doesn't?
yes.
it's
It's just
who
like
lives, who
it's so-
doesn't. So if I have an 89-year-old and I have a 62-year-old, who's gonna live?
Wow, that's a hard decision to make, but yeah, you're right.
Doctors
Yeah.
making that
Wow.
decision. A lot of doctors
Yeah.
committed suicide.
Oh my
Really?
God,
Is there
really?
You know, like, is there a statistic on that?
Yeah, you could you just
Can we look
Google
that up? Can we look that up?
It's-
emergency room doctor suicide. Just look
That's
it up.
crazy. Is
These are
that,
people that see you when you
Jesus.
come in. Like, all right, what's the situation?
Joe, that's like on the back end, like the things of
No, I totally understand
Right?
that because like I seen
New York being the worst. Like that's where most
Really?
of them, that's where most of the. I could be wrong.
I mean, I understand that.
I have a
because-
question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Okay, so like, with everything that we've said so far, you know, I've heard so many different ends of the spectrum. Like, our hospital isn't affected by this at all, and I've heard also we are completely understaffed. We do not have enough PPE, protective equipment, whatever.
equipment,
People who
yeah.
don't know, personal protective equipment. Like, I've heard both ends of the spectrum. Like, what is true? What is not? Like, is there a happy medium? Is it just regionally we're different because we have a younger base in this
Alright.
town?
This is the deal.
What?
If I'm gonna break it down to cars, everybody understands cars. So essentially, you come into a garage, and let's say you have 5 mechanics, and
Okay.
one mechanic does transmissions, one does motors, one does brakes, one does suspension work, one does interiors.
Okay.
Is that 5? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
Doesn't
close
matter.
enough.
But it's close
Whatever.
enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
COVID affects transmissions. Guess what? The transmission department working, right?
Yeah.
Well, the
Okay.
interior is labor and delivery. Guess what? They don't they're empty.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me another example that I just spit out because I'm 3 beers in.
So
What was the other one?
You've had enough of this.
Interior.
What was the-
So did you. Who are you talking to?
I like this one. I'm finishing mine.
What the hell?
So
This guy over here.
I finished everybody for Christmas.
I would say, I would say
you guys didn't notice.
Interior,
Right?
Transmission is ICU.
Transmission.
okay.
Suspension.
ICU. Yeah. So
Suspension.
the motor. All right. Motor was another one. Okay.
Yeah, motor. Yeah.
So we'll put my floor where things were okay as the motor, but then hey, guess what? We have too many transmissions. Hey guys, you guys in the motors, like you know a bit about transmissions, right? Here, have some of our transmission jobs, okay? And you work your way back. But then if somebody goes to visit the upholstery floor, I'm like nobody's replacing their interiors. We're slow. We're dead. Like, oh, the hospital's empty.
I
You know
got
why?
you.
Because normally, kids go and mess up interiors of cars, right? Normally,
Yes.
that's big boku bucks.
Yes.
Like they're loaded. They got tons of work. There's like 60 different jobs that need upholstery. But right now, everybody's having transmission problems. So the
That's
upholstery
true,
floor
okay.
is empty.
Yeah.
And then you got these dumbasses who go in there with cameras and they're like, the hospital's empty. I'm like, number one, you're not allowed to have visitors in the hospital. We can't even get food delivered. I have to go and pick up donations and I have to bring them in as a nurse because you guys aren't allowed on the premises.
It's crazy.
They're like, oh, the parking lot's empty. Look, there's nobody here. But because you're not allowed. If this was Ebola, everybody knows is dangerous,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
If this was Ebola and everybody was at risk of getting Ebola, you gonna walk into that hospital?
Fuck no.
No.
Is
hell
your
no.
car gonna be in the parking lot?
No.
Probably.
The hospital's empty, sir.
Doctors die at double the rate of the general population by suicide.
That's insane.
I get that because, I mean, this one I seen a while back and it really affected me a lot. And it made me think of you and other friends we have that are nurses and everything.
Kaylee.
Kaylee, yeah.
Yeah. So many.
I was at work and it was just a normal day and I was just listening to the radio you know, just normal day, whatever. I heard on the radio all of a sudden there was this interview that they had that they pretty much made clear that it was very important that everyone needed to hear it, and it was a nurse in New York, I think it was Brooklyn, and they were saying how like it was the effect that it had on him was very huge, and they played the interview and just how he talked about what he goes through on a normal basis, and what like you were talking about, like who lives, who dies, and it's just like I never really saw it in that light, you know, and it's just like every single day they walk in there and it's a war zone, and like what they deal with is just crazy, and just alone deciding who lives and who dies is just a huge decision to make for anybody.
I can't imagine that way.
How do you decide that, and then to talk? Even he was saying, he was literally like, I had to tell the families that I'm sorry, yours wasn't chosen, and he literally was crying in the interview, and I lost it. I was like, how do you tell the family and then live with yourself afterwards? But that's the decision they have to make because of things being so crazy right now. And
that's why doctors.
It really hit me in such a powerful way that I never really saw before, because, you know, us normal citizens, we don't see that sort of stuff. Obviously you see it every day, but anybody else, they don't really see that on a day-to-day basis, and it just hit me really hard. So
yeah, like I'm blessed in the fact that I don't have to make that decision, but then it's like on the other end of it, the nurses are the ones who are wrapping bodies, and the nurses are the ones who are FaceTiming the families, and the ones that are making the phone calls. And within 2 hours, I have a window of time where you're watching people's O2 sats. O2 sats meaning like that little, it's a little device that measures how much oxygen is in your blood. And what's insidious about, I don't know if that's proper use of the word, correct us if you want. What's insidious about it is that like you're watching these O2 sats drop, right? And then you've got like an hour or two. So my patient is desatting. Like there's not enough oxygen in their blood. I'm watching it drop. Respiratory will stand by. They will sit there with me and they'll wait for orders from the doctor to intubate. Okay? In that time, we gotta call the family. You have to call the primary care provider. You have to call the power of attorney, which means that like when you're incapable of making your decisions, you select somebody. Like in your case, it would be your fiance, and she would be your power of attorney if you signed her over to that, and she would decide whether or not you actually are going to get intubated.
So basically,
and she gets to make that decision. So like when you finally do, you know, put yourself in that position, which right now you don't, you're healthy as fuck.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. But like in your future, take care of that. By the way, PSA, whatever advanced directives, whatever you want done while you're in the hospital, anything that you don't want done to you, intubation, all those things, put it down on paper, because guess what? We have to make the decision based upon these people that I'm calling at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Adrian's O2 sat is 79. I'm going to explain to you exactly what we're going to do. The respiratory therapist is going to put a tube down his throat. They're going to ventilate him. Okay, he may be there for a week to 2 weeks. This is his best chance. Right now, if he continues at the current rate, we're talking about brain damage. We're talking about a lot of negative factors. Are you okay with that?
So,
and that's what POA.
Click.
So 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm making this phone call. Yeah.
Oh.
okay, so our next cider is McKenzie's Winter Crisp Hard Cider. It's got a very creative cover and or label, and it's apple pie related.
Is it apple pie with like strawberries on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe the proper term is apple crisp.
Apple
There you
crisp.
go.
Yes.
There you
That's
go.
true with the
But it
bread.
looks like it's influenced by
Whatever that
apple
is.
pie.
I cheated. I looked at the name. It's Winter Crisp.
So a little backstory on them. They were created in upstate New York. They won a 2019.
We're gonna visit. We're coming there.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go.
very local, so
Coming
we'll
at
definitely
you. We're
visit.
getting there.
Yes. They won the 2019 World Cider Awards Gold Medal
Ooh.
as a company, not
Whoa.
for this cider in particular, but as a company.
So last year
Whoa.
they won an award.
Yeah.
Or
The
So
world
it's very
title,
recent.
as
Yeah.
in the world title
Cider Awards
the
gold medal.
whole thing.
Wow.
Well,
That is
Dude.
As a
crazy.
company, not for the cider, but that's probably a good sign.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
Alright,
All
so
right. So, okay.
I'm really excited
You guys
about
ready?
trying this. So,
I'm ready.
yes.
yeah.
I'm
smells
ready.
good.
So who brought this one in, AJ?
Smell it first. Smell it first.
All right.
Oh my god.
You can smell the apples coming out of the bottle.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that smells like
And
a good
the
apple
Skiffs.
pie, man. Like
You know what? As a matter of fact,
Let's
this smells so
go.
good. I'm done.
Let's go. Let's go.
The
Let's
smell
go.
is enough.
Let's go.
That's
a good smell.
Ready?
Let's go.
Alright, let's go.
Oh, cheers to that.
Cheers, baby.
Cheers. Let's go.
Alright, let's go.
Oh wow.
The description's accurate.
Woo!
It is liquid apple crisp.
Yes.
That's good.
You can
That
taste.
is
It's
good.
almost as accurate as like you can taste the crust on it, or the like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can literally taste the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I w-
Cinnamon.
You're
and,
scooping up
like you're
just the
scooping it
crisp.
out. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
literally like you're tasting the crust of it and the top the cinnamon on it. Like,
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey,
What do you think, Chris?
By the way, you can't overlook the fact 54% juice, right?
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that we drink comes from concentrate. As far as flavoring is concerned, half of this bottle is actual juice. So
Oh.
there's that.
That's why there's like,
It's real.
I will say there's a strong like a sugary feel to it, like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but it kind of goes with the cider. Like it, a lot of times you drink something and you're a little bit confused. Like, why is this so sweet? This doesn't give me that confusion. Like, I understand what it's trying to tell me. It tastes like a good sugary cider, and I like it, and it's really good. It really is just like a good hard crisp. Like Patrick said, you feel like you're just skimming off the crust
of
on an
it,
apple
yeah.
pie.
The cinnamon.
That's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I like it. I could see myself. Again, I'm vegetarian. I don't eat meat. But if you're if you're eating a good T-bone steak and you want something to marry that well, you want salty and sweet. Maybe you drink something like this. You know.
For me, this is tastes like, the apple pie with vanilla.
Yeah.
So when you
vanilla on
scoop-
top. Yeah.
When you scoop a good scoop of like a vanilla, and then just like put it on top of it,
Yeah.
perfect.
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
Apple pie a la mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is.
So like I hate a lot on like stuff that's overly sweet, but at the same time as a bartender I made a lot of like espresso martinis and a lot of mudslides and things that were desserts, and everything has its place. I would drink this as a dessert drink.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best way to put
Okay,
it. It's
yeah.
a good dessert drink.
Like I couldn't drink these throughout my entire 3 courses, appetizer, entree, dessert,
Yeah.
but I could drink it as a dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah, but would you drink it when last time we drank the pear? Would you drink that as a dessert?
Main course.
The pear, no. The pear would be probably appetizer. I would drink the pear with an appetizer.
Okay.
I would have to have something less sweet with an entree. I would take this by itself. I wouldn't drink it with my dessert. Because,
Gotcha.
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking ice cream and
Yes.
cider do not mix. I don't know if you've seen what that does.
Oh, no.
But go ahead, take a cup.
I know.
Pour ice cream
I
and cider
know what
in
you're
it.
talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's how you end up sick. You don't want to do that. This is a great dessert cider. I
Yes.
wouldn't mix it
I
with
would do that
dessert.
too.
I would have this as dessert. So do they make a regular cider?
Yeah.
McKenzie's in general does make good ciders.
This is the first one I've tried from that brand.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I'm sure
I haven't
others-
I haven't had this one in particular.
So McKenzie's has a black cherry flavor. They have a strawberry hibiscus rosé and an original. They have peach tea. They also they call it a Mac Pack, where you can try a bunch of different flavors. Pineapple hemp, and then the winter crisp. Oh, also pumpkin. They have all different kinds for different
All right,
seasons.
so
Damn, we got a lot more to try.
I think
Let's
it's safe
go.
to say that we got to make a trip over to upstate New York, and
Yeah.
Try them out.
Hey, New York
That's
is on
something.
fire. We got
we're going. You're
Pennington,
invited.
Pennington
Let's go.
Farms.
Let's go.
in
Let us go.
That is go.
Farmingdale. Or no, I'm sorry. Begins with a W.
You know,
Warwick.
you know what it is. It's just the long acres of green. They have that space, that availability to make so much cider, farms, whatever you want to do with that. You have so
Yeah.
much space to do it.
So many people say New York, and everybody thinks Manhattan.
Yeah.
I'm
They forget
about
it's
that.
Middletown, New York, and you know, like all those places, like upstate New York.
Yeah, we
Anyway,
we should just do a New York run of cideries.
We
Anyway,
actually,
We're doing that.
we actually
Okay,
tried-
so I feel like across the board we all give it a highly big thumbs up as far
think
as
you had a
whether
question,
we
Chris?
like it or not.
drink it for dessert. Every cider has its place.
So, with everything that's gone on and everything we've covered with COVID and what you've gone through and everything, do you think right now is, because a lot of people are either doing it or not, do you think right now is the best time for different states and all that to start opening up? And what are anything else that you might want people to know about your experience with this disease?
I've joked with it. I've joked about it with other nurses, and it's almost like we wish there was a thing called nursing law, because there's martial law, and we have to be responsive to what our capabilities are on the healthcare front, because everybody likes to discount the fact that, like, oh, well, 1%, less than 1%. But if the less than 1% included anybody at this table, you would definitely change your perception of whether or not you feel that people should be strict about it. Because if you were sick, or you were sick, I would feel a lot differently about whether or not people should be wearing masks, whether or not people should be staying at home. Are there enough ICU beds? Are there enough ICU nurses? That's another thing. I'm not an ICU nurse. I'm capable of managing the things that are essential for a COVID patient as a nurse. But again, we go into the whole specialization thing. ICU nurses are top level. You've got your emergency room nurses, top level. ICU nurses, top level. And those are the two that are going to be most critically affected. How many of those people do we have? You can't make them overnight.
Okay.
Because I'm not one. It would take a minimum of 6 months to train one. Minimum. And I don't want that one. I want the one that's been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, how do you make yourself like happy from what is been going on from that one? Like, for example, like COVID and stuff like that.
Like, how do I like, as far as the job is concerned, or as far as like outside of
like
work?
no, for like your own sake, basically.
Your own
Personal-
sanity.
Yes.
Jiu-jitsu, right?
Jiu-jitsu.
So just like
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when you don't have jiu-jitsu, what do you do?
So, yeah.
I've been having trouble with that. Like,
There's your honest answer.
There you go.
You know, like,
Jiu-jitsu is the answer.
And when you don't have jiu-jitsu, what do you do?
I do find comfort in other nurses that I work with.
Just communication, I guess, right?
What
There are a lot of
talking?
personal factors which, like, I can't even interject into the whole conversation, but like, I have my nurses, I have my team that I work with. Like, honestly, mental health, we bag bodies. We know when people die. We know when people live. I mean, there's a plus and a minus to it. We have interactions with patients, which is exactly why I do what I do. Like, having this much of an impact on a human being's life, and a perfect example is like having somebody like on a ventilator for 2 weeks, and then waking up and saying, I love you. They don't know you, but they remember you, and they heard everything you said, and you took care of them. It's a totally different angle.
Yeah.
Like, that is the positive side of the job. The negative side is that person doesn't make it. They heard everything you said. You put them in a body bag.
After 3 ciders and like 5 shots, guys, I am like almost tapping out.
Yep. Alright, so I would say
And I feel like I drank most of your drinks because.
No, I protected my aces. So
Dude, I was like COVID nurse.
you didn't make
I'm
it.
gonna drink
you
his
didn't make
drink
it over to
first.
my side. You didn't make it to my side for this one.
I lost half of my drinks, but yeah.
So I would say thank you for Chris for being here and stuff like that, and I really appreciate you.
No problem.
And
Yeah.
I would say you're one of my heroes.
Cheers.
So cheers to that.
Hey guys, peace out. Goodbye.
All right, see you, everybody.
Yes, sir.